There are multiple reasons why some people just love caring for others when they're unwell. Some do it for the love they feel towards an individual and want them to get well as soon as possible, while others do it for the warm feeling they get inside when they help someone. Some would even turn this love of caring into a profession. Richard Angelo was an American nurse who appeared to be a caring and dedicated medical professional. However, beneath his benevolent facade lay a dark and sinister secret. Angelo worked as a nurse at the Good Samaritan Hospital in Suffern, New York. Angelo was obsessed with gaining recognition and admiration from his colleagues and superiors, and he believed that saving patients' lives would elevate his standing in the medical community. In a twisted attempt to fulfill his desires for attention and validation, Angelo began tampering with the patients under his care. He secretly injected them with lethal doses of medication, primarily potassium chloride, an electrolyte crucial for the proper functioning of the heart. His actions would cause cardiac arrest, then he would attempt to resuscitate them and look like a hero, as well as have a sense of power. Angelo's method of administering the lethal doses was devious. He would hide the medication in syringes or intravenous bags, cleverly concealing his sinister intentions from his colleagues. He often targeted patients who were already in critical condition, believing that their deaths would go unnoticed or be attributed to their existing illnesses. As the deaths mounted, suspicions began to arise among the hospital staff. A nurse named Maria Inguanzo noticed a pattern of cardiac arrests occurring during Angelo's shifts. She reported her concerns to the hospital administration, but her warnings were initially dismissed. Despite the doubts, Inguanzo persisted in her efforts to expose Angelo. In early 1988, a patient named Girolamo Kucic experienced a cardiac arrest while under Angelo's care. Miraculously, Kucic survived the incident, but suffered significant brain damage. This event finally triggered a thorough investigation into Angelo's actions. During the investigation, hospital officials discovered that Angelo's victims had higher than normal levels of potassium in their bloodstreams. This finding pointed directly to his deliberate administration of lethal doses of potassium chloride. Angelo's colleagues were naturally horrified to learn that their trusted colleague had been responsible for these deaths. Angelo was then arrested on March 10, 1988. During his trial, the evidence against him continued to mount, and his true nature was fully exposed. His motive, driven by a twisted desire for recognition, painted a chilling picture of a man willing to take innocent lives to feed his narcissistic tendencies. In October 1989, Richard Angelo was found guilty of second-degree murder and multiple counts of criminally negligent homicide. He received a sentence of 61 years to life in prison, as well as the nickname, the Angel of Death. His horrific actions shattered the trust placed in healthcare professionals and left a lasting impact on the medical community. This sort of thing is actually more common than it should be, so much so that it even has its own name. Munchausen syndrome, or factitious disorder imposed on self, is a rare mental health condition where people intentionally fake or exaggerate symptoms to play the role of a patient. They seek attention and sympathy, often resorting to self-harm or manipulation of medical tests. Unfortunately, diagnosis is challenging due to deception. But what we are looking at today is Munchausen by proxy, which is now known as factitious disorder imposed on another FDIA, is a psychological disorder characterized by a caregiver intentionally causing or fabricating symptoms in someone under their care, often a child or vulnerable adult. The term Munchausen by proxy was coined in reference to Baron Munchausen, a fictional character known for his extravagant tales. The most famous example of this is from Dee and Gypsy, but that story has been done to death. So for your sake, I won't be covering it here. In cases of Munchausen by proxy, the caregiver, usually a parent or guardian, seeks to assume the role of a caregiver or hero by presenting themselves as a concerned advocate for the well-being of the individual they are responsible for. They manipulate medical professionals, fabricate or exaggerate symptoms, and subject the person to unnecessary medical tests, treatments, or surgeries. They may even administer harmful substances or induce illness to maintain their role as a caretaker, and gain sympathy from others. The motivations behind Munchausen by proxy can vary. Some caregivers may have a strong desire for attention and validation, seeking recognition as devoted and self-sacrificing caregivers. They may enjoy the attention and sympathy they receive from medical professionals, friends, and family who believe they are caring for a sick individual. In some cases, they may have a deep-seated need for control and power, using the manipulation of illness as a means to exert dominance over the victim. The signs of Munchausen by proxy can be challenging to detect, as the caregiver may appear caring and concerned. However, there are certain red flags that may indicate this disorder, including frequent and unexplained illnesses in the person under the caregiver's care, often with symptoms that do not match any specific medical condition, symptoms that appear or worsen only when the caregiver is present, and improvement when the caregiver is absent, inconsistencies in medical records, or conflicting reports from different healthcare providers. Caregivers' extensive knowledge of medical terminology, procedures, and medications that surpasses what would be expected of a layperson. A history of seeking medical attention from multiple healthcare providers, or frequent hospitalizations. Resistance to allowing other healthcare professionals access to the person's medical records or involvement in their care. Olivia Gant was a young girl who captured the attention and sympathy of people across the United States. Born on June 25, 2006 in Colorado, Olivia was portrayed as a brave and resilient child who battled multiple severe medical conditions throughout her short life. Olivia Gant's mother, Kelly Turner, became widely known for her advocacy efforts on behalf of her daughter. She shared Olivia's journey through blog posts, social media updates, and interviews, portraying her as a courageous fighter against a series of life-threatening illnesses. According to Turner, Olivia suffered from various medical conditions, including cancer, muscular dystrophy, seizures, and a terminal illness called neurogastrointestinal encephalomyopathy. Turner's heart-wrenching descriptions of Olivia's medical struggles garnered significant attention and support from the community. The public rallied behind the family, organizing fundraisers and offering financial assistance to help cover Olivia's medical expenses. News outlets even featured Olivia's story, further amplifying her reach and generating widespread sympathy. Turner eventually posted a bucket list that Olivia had made and created an online fundraiser so she could do all the things on this list. Make-A-Wish Foundation also assisted by putting on a Disney-themed event for Olivia. She also got to ride in a police car and be a firefighter for a day.
Princess Olivia, we need you to respond to a dumpster fire.
She is a ball of fire. Today, her wish came true to become a firefighter. She's in intestinal failure, and we don't know how much longer she has. And so we made a bucket list, and one of her things was to become a firefighter.
See how far we can get it to go?
When we found out that she wanted to do this, we were very thrilled to be able to help out.
I mean, I don't even have words to describe how I feel. It's just a bunch of ball of emotion. We moved here from Texas a few years ago to seek out treatment. Her intestines just shut down one at a time.
We knew that Olivia lived in Littleton's fire district. Since Littleton and South Metro train together and respond to emergencies together, it only made sense that we could come together on this and both show her a great time.
So here's my bucket list.
She wanted to do this. I didn't know that it would come true.
Be a fireman.
We got to do that, so they have to check it out.
Thanks for being a great boss.
Awesome. I was resting for a while so I can feel good.
Yeah, there we go.
However, the truth about Olivia's medical conditions and Turner's role began to unravel. In 2017, Olivia's biological father, who was divorced from Turner, became suspicious and questioned the accuracy of her medical history. He reported his concerns to the authorities, prompting an investigation into Olivia's case. The investigation revealed shocking revelations. Medical professionals discovered that many of Olivia's reported conditions were unfounded and her treatments had been unnecessary or even harmful. Olivia had undergone multiple surgeries, including the removal of her salivary glands and the insertion of a feeding tube. It was also revealed that Turner had manipulated and deceived medical professionals to perpetuate the false narrative of Olivia's illnesses. Olivia's life came to an untimely end on August 20th, 2017, at the age of 11. Her cause of death was initially attributed to complications from her alleged medical conditions. However, subsequent investigations led to the conclusion that her death resulted from a combination of factors, including the administration of unnecessary medications and medical procedures. In 2019, Kelly Turner was arrested and charged with multiple counts, including child abuse, theft, and fraud. She was accused of fabricating Olivia's illnesses for personal gain, including financial benefits and attention. Turner's trial took place in 2021, during which evidence against her continued to mount. In September 2021, she was found guilty of multiple charges, and in February 2022, she was sentenced to 16 years in prison. Olivia's life serves as a stark reminder of the importance of thorough investigations, skepticism, and protection for those who may be subjected to Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
And be into the worries for the rest of your days. These are problem-free. Philosophy, Hakuna Matata.
Are you traumatized? Did they do terrible things to you?
As mentioned earlier, the original name for this illness came from a fictional character named Baron Munchausen, but there are many insightful references to this throughout different art forms. Bo is kept in a padded room by his mother, Yubaba. This confinement parallels the isolation often seen in cases of Munchausen by proxy, where the child is restricted from interacting with others and exploring the world independently. Yubaba convinces Bo that he is too sickly to leave the room, instilling a fear of germs and creating a false belief about his health. This manipulation of Bo's perception is similar to how caregivers in Munchausen by proxy fabricate or exaggerate symptoms of illness in the child, leading them to believe they are unwell. The control exerted by Yubaba over Bo's life aligns with the control dynamic present in Munchausen by proxy cases. Yubaba restricts Bo's freedom, both physically and mentally, to maintain power and authority over him. Bo's confinement and fabricated illness serve Yubaba's personal gain. By keeping Bo isolated and dependent on her, she ensures her control over the spirit world and the bathhouse. This motive for personal gain is also observed in reality, where caregivers seek attention, sympathy, or validation through their manipulation of the child's health. As the story progresses, Bo reaches a turning point where he defies his mother's restrictions and leaves the room. This mirrors the moment in Munchausen by proxy cases where the victim begins to question the fabricated illness or imposed limitations. Bo's journey beyond the padded room leads to personal growth, friendship, and ultimately his involvement in saving the life of his mother's gravely injured apprentice. This transformation aligns with the idea of liberation and growth often seen in individuals who break free from the control placed upon them.
Welcome back to reality.
Marybeth Tinning is a name associated with one of the most infamous cases in the United States. Born on September 11, 1942, in Duanesburg, New York, Tinning gained notoriety for the tragic deaths of several of her children, which ultimately led to her arrest and conviction. Tinning's story began in the 1970s, when she and her husband, Joseph Tinning, started their family. Over a span of several years, Marybeth and Joseph experienced a string of sudden and unexplained deaths of their children. Between 1972 and 1985, like clockwork, one child after another would enter this world almost as quickly as they would leave it, until ultimately 9 of their children died under suspicious circumstances. all before reaching the age of 5. At first, the deaths were attributed to natural causes, such as sudden infant death syndrome or other illnesses. However, the frequency of these deaths raised suspicions among medical professionals and law enforcement. In 1985, the death of Tinning's 9th child, Tammy Lynn, prompted a thorough investigation into the Tinning family. During the investigation, it was discovered that Tinning had a history of seeking medical attention for her children and often presented them with symptoms that were difficult to diagnose. Her children would fall mysteriously ill and subsequently pass away, with no apparent explanation. Under scrutiny, Tinning eventually confessed to smothering her children with pillows or blankets, causing their deaths. She admitted that she did it to gain sympathy and attention, believing that her children were not receiving enough love and care. In 1987, Marybeth Tinning was charged with second-degree murder for the death of her daughter, Tammy Lynn. She was convicted and sentenced to 20 years to life in prison. Although she was only charged and convicted for one of the deaths, Tinning remains the prime suspect in the deaths of her other children. The case of Marybeth Tinning shocked the nation, as it revealed the disturbing reality of a mother intentionally causing the deaths of her own children. It highlighted the devastating consequences of Munchausen syndrome by proxy and the need for increased awareness and vigilance in identifying and preventing such cases of child abuse. Tinning's actions forever scarred her family and left a lasting impact on the community, serving as a chilling reminder of the dangers posed by those who manipulate and harm vulnerable individuals for their own twisted motivations. I'm not sure about you, but I'm always the type of person to assume someone wants something when they're being overly nice or caring towards me. I often wonder if this is our brain's natural defense mechanism to try and prevent us from being caught in a web. Like the victims mentioned earlier, there's something so strange and unsettling about how nice people can seem when their true motives are not pure whatsoever. Please, like, subscribe, and comment on this video, as all engagement really helps me to be able to continue doing what I'm doing now. Thank you so much. And until next time, keep fearing the living.